From Hong Kong, this is Mea Culpa, the Lessons Learned from Startups podcast, based on the Postmodern Conference, where founders, investors, lawyers, and mentors share their stories about working on, with, or for startups. Today, we have for you Jaimie Au. Jaimie is the founder of Oh My Tat, an online e-commerce platform for custom temporary tattoos. Before she started Oh My Tat, she was an account manager at Alibaba. Welcome, Jaimie.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you.
Jaimie, how did you end up in doing a startup?
It was back in 6 years ago when I was still working in Alibaba. And then I met a lot of suppliers there. And I've always wanted to start something on my own. And I think that was a very good chance to maybe start my own e-commerce business. So at that time, I quitted Alibaba and then tried starting on my own with the resources that I gained from Alibaba.
So you saw products, you saw supply, and at that point you wanted to do something with that. But from you personally, did you save up something and then say like, hey, like I want to build this, but then I want to make it profitable within 6 months, 12 months? Did you have some runway for yourself, or did you just quit your Alibaba job and start doing it?
Actually, no. So that's why I actually kind of failed at that time, because I didn't do any research or plannings or anything. Just I wanted to start something. I think most of the startups first time they're like, okay, I got an idea and I want to be a boss and start something on my own. So that was me. So at the time I didn't have any actual plannings or figures or research or any information. I just quit it and started.
That's quite a bold move, right?
Yeah, right.
How was your surroundings, like family, friends? How were they reacting for you, like quitting a job at a big company like Alibaba, which is quite secure? How did they react on that?
For friends, they were quite supportive, because I think it's cool to start something on their own, and they always wanted to start something on their own as well. So there not any rejection from them. But for family, of course, they were a bit worried, because as you said, Alibaba is a quite promising company. It's a big company, and it gives you stable income and life and whatsoever. So there was a little bit worried from the family, but I was still young back in the time, and I think it's worth a try. And so I persuaded them, and I told them not to worry about it. If I fail, I can just find another job. So that's fine.
And at that point, it was still called Toot, right?
Yeah. At the beginning, it's not Oh My Tat. It's called Toot, and it was an app.
And it was an app.
Yeah.
How did you came about? Did you start doing customer validation, or you just started building yourself?
No, I just thought it's cool to have a app to sell temporary tattoos, because there was no such app at that time. And I think if there's something not exist, so I would just build one. That's typical startup first time thinking. So at the time I just did it without any planning.
And because you have a background in coding, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit how did you came about having a background in coding, but then ending up as an account manager at Alibaba? Like how did that journey went?
I was graduate in the HKUST with a computer engineering degree. But since I graduated, I didn't do any coding jobs. I started as salesperson or account manager role. But it's still related to IT field. At the beginning, I sold many hardwares or software products, and then I went to I think around 3 years later, I changed to the Alibaba role to do more e-commerce, which I'm more interested in. And that's how my journey went since I graduated. But I still know I have some concept about coding, so that's why it's not very, very hard for me to build an app, because the app was a hybrid. Actually, it's based on HTML, CSS, that kind of thing. So it's like building a website. So it's not too hard for me to handle. And since I quit it at the time, so I got full time to build my app during the time. I think I spent about around like half year to do so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And why tattoos?
Why tattoos? First, I like tattoos, and I followed a lot of tattoo artists account on Instagram at the time. And every time I saw one, I feel like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. But it's hard for me to, every time I see a post on Instagram and then I want to tattoo this because it's a permanent thing. So at that time I thought about why there isn't a temporary tattoos that looks like real tattoo. I mean, at the time there's temporary tattoo is a long history. You saw a lot of like Mickey Mouse or any cartoon tattoos, which are for kids, but there are not many temporary tattoos for adults, which have real tattoos graphic. So at the time I thought about, why there isn't any beautiful temporary tattoos for adults. So that's how I started the idea. Start selling temporary tattoos, and then I start sourcing custom temporary tattoos, and also as I said, the supplier I used to have met during Alibaba, so I contacted them and see if they can do what I want. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically your passion for tattoos and the amount of nice tattoos that you saw, but you couldn't put them all over your body because at one point it's full, of course.
Yeah, right.
So at that point you would say temporary tattoo
Yeah.
would be a solution for that.
Yeah.
I also know that you could design on the app at that point in the beginning, you could design your own tattoos. Is it still possible, or how did that customer discovery go for potential people having to design their own tattoos?
You mean how does it work?
How did you come about just by temporary tattoos is one thing, of course, but designing your own tattoos is something else. How did you came about that there was a market for that?
Yeah. At the beginning, I didn't start customization actually, but so that at that time I sold some simple like stars, hearts, tiny tattoos, which are kind of like Korean style, cute little tattoos. But then I start receiving a lot of inquiries from customers and asking, do you do customization? I really want to design my own or have some other graphics that you didn't provide. So that's how I learned from the customers that at that time, and that I found that customization is actually a big market. And also at that time, the trend is customization, like phone case, bags, many things are customized. So customization is a trend, and plus the inquiries from the customers, the feedback from the customers. So that's how I started the customization feature on my business.
Okay. What was the biggest challenge in, say, like the first 6 to 8 months when you started this? What was the thing that you later realized after 6 to 8 months that you didn't realize when you started? What was the biggest challenge there?
I think the first 6 months is still honeymoon period. You still have great passion because you're working on your app and you just started it, so you don't you accept there are not many sales and you think it's okay because I just started. So at the beginning is still honeymoon period and still very passionate about your business, and you don't mind those very little sales at that time. But after I think a year, and then you start to worry about why it's not moving. It's still so little sales. So and then at the time I started worry about the financing of the business model, and whether it's working and whether there's a market big enough to let me earn a living, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's the roadmap at the beginning.
And obviously you didn't quit,
Mm-hmm.
because that's usually the point where founders say like, hey, like, where's the revenue coming in? And it's not giving the revenue that I thought it would be. But you continued. What was for you the sign or the thing that you said, I'm not going to give up on this right now yet? What was for you the decision-making factor that you wanted to continue this?
I think the worst part is I think if you don't have any sales, probably better than you have little sales, because sometimes those little sales give you false signal that is gonna be okay. But if you have no sales at all, you will really think that's, oh, maybe there's really not a market exists. But sometimes those false signals let you continue without definite time frame or deadline. So yeah, because there will keep little sales coming during that time. So that makes me didn't give up and keep thinking, how can I get more sales?
And how did you get more sales?
Okay, and there's a little turning point. Is that I actually kind of given up, not totally given up, but I put it aside, and I started go back to working at that time to find a proper job, full-time job, and then just, okay, that's a side business. I didn't fully give up, but put it as a side business. But since I went back to work for like a month, and then I find out, first of all, I didn't really enjoy working, and then I started to think about actually how many tattoos I can sell to cover the income that I'm making at this job right now. So that's the first time I really started thinking about this problem. Previously, I was thinking how to make it big, how to make more people know about Toot, how to make more features to make people like it, but didn't really do the figures or calculation things. But then I started working again, and then I really started to think about how many tattoos a day I need to sell in order to earn the same income I'm working. So, and then I started to do the calculation using Excel, and I find that, okay, actually it's not that hard. So the target actually, suddenly I had got a target. Before I got no target, I was just thinking how to make it big. But now I got a target, how many tattoos I have to sell, and then every day, and then I started to think about different ways to sell the target that I made. And then, since this is actually a very low target, and then I made it, and then I created a full-time job again after a month, and then go back to tattoos in full-time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would say that setting yourself a goal which was achievable and which was not in your earlier vision, as in saying like before that you just wanted to become big, and now you're looking at, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe you were looking at, I don't know, say you were selling 10 tattoos, which was giving you maybe half of your normal monthly salary, but now you didn't really realize because you were wanted to go big, you maybe wanted to go to 10,000, but you weren't achieving that. And now you start realizing after making calculations that if you would sell 20, then at that point you would have the same income as you would have had for a full-time job. So at that point you set your goal on 20, which was way more achievable than the 10,000. Is that a little bit
similar? So my point is, setting up an achievable target is very important. You know what you're doing and what you have to do, instead of just a very vague goal that my goal is to make it big. So that actually doesn't work. So sometimes not lower, but make an achievable target and plan and figures. It will make you more clear what you have to do.
So now you set yourself a goal. Now you're basically having as income as similar as the full-time job because you said you achieved that. But full-time job, how many hours were you working, and how many hours were you working basically the month after that when you were back on your tattoo business?
You mean at that time?
Yes.
It's different for full-time job. When you get off from work, you're really off and you don't think about it. But for your own business, you think about all the time, 24 hours, even on Saturdays, Sundays. There's no hard line between holidays or working hours. So you actually basically, when you have time, you just sit in front of the computer and start working. Yeah.
Does that mean that you're not really calculating hours that you're working on it? But how does that work for you as a person, that what you're saying, right? It's not a 9 to 5 job, even in the weekends. Are you still able to get some type of moments of rest or self-reflection or, yeah?
Definitely. But I just mean it's more flexible to have your own business, but doesn't mean you don't rest and work all the time, but it's just hard to give a deadline. Like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. I just stop working. It's not like that. But I still my working pattern is I got some tasks, have some tasks every day for myself to like, oh, today I have to do these 3 to 4 tasks. But it's okay to switch the hours. For example, I can go running first, and then after doing some sports, I feel better to do the other tasks. But it's not that I have to finish it before 6 o'clock. Not like that. Just flexible. I can switch the tasks or jobs. But I set some goals or tasks every day that I have to finish.
How do you do that on, for instance, when you want to go on a holiday or you don't take holidays?
I do take holidays, of course, but not now because of the COVID-19. Yeah, I mean, not traveling, but actually, because my business is an e-commerce business, so actually I can work anywhere. Just bring in my own computer. So sometimes, for example, if I go traveling or go somewhere else, I can just bring my computer with me to settle some tasks that I must have to do by myself. But I think delegation is very important as well, to dedicate some tasks to some part-time staff or other people so that you can focus more on the thing you have to focus on.
Does that mean that you have an external warehouse for your stock, or do you still keep that in your own office and then ship from there? Or how have you arranged that? Because you could take your laptop with you, but then it will be hard to ship things from your office when you're not there, right?
Yeah, I have my own, like a kind of like a studio to put all the packaging and tattoos will be shipped there. And then basically, if I'm out of office, other part-time staff can still go up there and do the packing. Yeah, so it's not, yeah, it's arrangeable.
And looking back now, because you're now doing this 6 years,
Yeah.
what was one of the hardest things that you had to go through during those 6 years? Like, were there any, could be personal, could be business related things that you said, hey, that was really something that was challenging for me?
The first 2 to 3 years was really hard. In terms of the financial and also your emotion, especially emotion parts, because the first year was still okay because you were still new about it and you were still passionate about it. But after years pass, especially after the second year, and then you find that your business are still like that, but you spend a lot of time on it and you don't have income, and you created a job in Alibaba, and then your ex-colleagues started to become a team manager or start going up, but you were still stuck in there on your stickers business. So at that time I was kind of a bit lost, and I think the emotion was more worse than the financial issue, because financial is still I mean, it's also important, but your emotional issue is more important at the time.
How did you deal with that for yourself? Do you have like people of good friends that you talk to on a regular basis to level that out a little bit, or how do you cope with that emotional roller coaster?
The best friends to talk about during the time, not the regular best friends, is those also working on startups at the time. So because I was sharing an office with other two friends, they were working on their own startup as well at that time. So our situation was actually similar, and I think at that time they were very, very important for me as a supporting friends or whatever. So yeah, I think at that time they were very important during my emotional issues. Not really an issue, but yeah, the hard times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're trained as a computer science, you're trained as a coder, then at that point you start selling technical solutions, and then you start selling at Alibaba. What of that part did prepare you the most for the journey? Was it the technical part? Was it the selling part? Or maybe other things that you learned during the earlier days before you became a founder? What prepared you the most from that education and those first years as an employee before you started your own company?
Mm-hmm. I think my current business actually is a mix of those two field or areas. First, e-commerce is based on kind of like IT thing. So since my education background is in computer science, so it gives me concepts about how to like building a website. For example, building a website actually is not too hard right now because you got many solutions. But for many non-technical people, they still rely on other people to help them manage it. So since I got education background on it, so it's not too hard for me myself to handle it, the website, the e-commerce, or the technical part. But besides technical, I think one of the most important on e-commerce business is how you do the sales and marketing. So this is how I gained from my previous sales role job. Because I didn't have any business related degree on marketing or business side. So I think the experience, my job experience, gave me some hands-on kind of like training or experience on the marketing or sales and marketing part. So my current business is actually kind of a mix of these two areas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you look at your education, I know education changes a lot right now, but what would you have wanted to see what your education would have taught you, what would now become very handy? Well, like, what were your, in hindsight, what would be great to have had during your education that you're now using on a daily basis?
Mm, I think it's a bit hard to pinpoint or summarize because the interesting about technology part is it's always changing. Even though today I suggested some topics that I found is important, but probably next year is not important anymore. So basically, those coding that I learned during university is not valid anymore right now. So it keeps changing. But I think the most important is how you learn the basics, you learn the concept, and you learn how to learn other coding skills more faster. That kind of soft skills. I think those are even important and more long lasting.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're looking back on your journey so far, what is the thing that you learned the most and maybe you want to give to the audience here as lessons learned from yourself, saying like, hey, do this or do that, or something that is very as proven to you to be valuable, but something that you learned as a founder? What would that one thing that you really want to let the audience know that is important, at least from your perspective?
Mm-hmm. I think a very realistic business plan and research. You know what you're doing, and don't make it too ideal. Don't make everything too ideal. I think that's most first time founders have such problems, like me and some of my friends as well. Thinking the things are too ideal. No people thought about it, so I'll do it. It's gotta be popular. It's gonna be famous. It's gonna be work. Don't be too ideal. Make a realistic business plan and also backup plan as well. What if it failed, or what if it didn't achieve what you planned it? I think that's very important at the beginning to start something.
Okay. And what's the most valuable advice ever given to you? Something that you're also now, when you're talking to others, are giving to those people. Something that is being given to you as an advice, and now you're saying like, hey, if you're talking to other potential founders and you give that advice also through them, what advice was given to you?
Um, do more research. Yeah, do more research before you started something. Yeah, every time. For example, sometimes some of my friends, whenever they think about the idea, yeah, they will talk about it, and then they will just go ahead without even googling it. It's easy. I mean, you just Google it even to see whether someone did it before. They don't even do it. Sometimes I think they probably not there to find that, okay, actually my idea is not working. So they just make themselves blind and do something without doing research. So I think doing even a simple research is maybe helps you to save your time on spending time on thinking how to make it bigger. So I think doing a proper research is a must do at the beginning. Yeah, which I didn't at that time. Yeah.
It can sometimes save some months of trying out, indeed. Um, what is something that's not a secret, but most people out there don't know about you?
Not a secret.
Yeah, which is not a secret, so you can share it here on this podcast. But most people don't know about you. We had people saying that they're a great cook, or people sharing their hobbies that a lot of people didn't know about.
Oh, okay.
Maybe something you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got a big tattoo, but not many people know it because it's hidden somewhere. Not everyone can see. So it's interesting because some people, when I tell them I actually doing a tattoo related business, they will feel surprised because they don't see any tattoos on my body. But actually, I got a big one, which you cannot see. So it's not a secret, but you don't see it at the beginning or without I telling you. Yeah.
How did you came about to set that tattoo? What made you decide to have that tattoo on that place and that particular tattoo?
Actually, it's a kind of a personal preference. That's the nature of tattoo because it's a very personal thing. Even the placements or the wordings or the graphics is all personal preference. And also, every tattoo has a meaning on your body. So, yeah, I would say the placement and also the graphics or the wordings that I'm having the tattoo have my own story and also my own preference because I like it to be there, to present there. Yeah. It's not for everyone to see, so that's why it's hidden. It's for myself. Yeah.
Okay, can definitely get into that. It's very personal. Tattoos are per definition very personal.
Yeah.
Of course, by now you probably already had all the designs that you wanted as a temporary tattoo. Are there still designs that you would like to have as a temporary tattoo just to carry for yourself? Or you're just waiting for a new design to come up and then do that? Or are there still designs that you have been putting over, waiting for the right time to make a temporary tattoo of that for yourself and then carry it?
Yeah, sure. There are still many, many, many tattoo designs are very beautiful and awesome that I see it on IG every day. So actually my next planning is to collaborate with different tattoo artists to make their work as a temporary tattoo. So actually that's the thing, one of the things that I very wanted to do at the beginning, to collaborate with different artists and sell beautiful tattoo designs on my website. So because I'm not really an artist, actually I'm not an artist, I just have a platform to sell temporary tattoos, to let you do customization, that kind of thing. So I really would like to collaborate with those artists to have some beautiful tattoo designs on the website.
Okay. Okay. If somebody wants to have a temporary tattoo, where do they go?
They can just search Oh My Tat. It should be on the first page of Google, or they can just simply type www.ohmytat.com, ohmytat.com. And yeah, they can also search in on IG Oh My Tat, and they will see the Oh My Tat account on Instagram.
We will put a link in the show notes also.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
If there is one thing from this talk you want the audience to take away from this talk, what would it be? The one thing you really want to drive home?
If you want to do something, just execute it. Don't wait. I mean, of course you have to do the planning and research, as I said, but don't wait something happens to do it. Because many of my friends, they always started their business. They talk about like 5 to 6 years or even more, but then just never executed. But now you will see they actually wasted a few years' time without doing it. I think just you will learn many things at your startup journey, but the first step is you have to kickstart it. You have to execute it. Just start planning and start following your plan instead of just waiting something to happen.
Execution. It's
Yeah.
a lot of that is in there. Yes, correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your valuable insights and sharing of your lessons learned in startups. For the listeners, although the rating system of podcasts is hideous, if you like the Mea Culpa series, you can rate this podcast with 5 stars as a motivation for the makers. We want to thank Mizuho Crowdbrain in Hong Kong for being the venue sponsor of this episode, and thanks to Copy Ventures for making this whole series possible. If you have any suggestions for speakers, just let us know. As usual, this is Jeffrey Brewer. Go out and build something meaningful.